Well, today's an interesting day. As you see, I'm here kind of casual, um, and something inspired me to do this video. I'm not sure what it was in the spiritual world. If you're a Christian, if you're a believer, we call it the Holy Spirit, nature, if you're into the whole nature stuff, the universe, whatever. But um, it was an experience that I had, and that experience just led me to want to do this video. So as you see, I'm here just casual in my t-shirt and shorts. I was at a networking event this morning. I went into the came home here and changed, then sent out a few emails and follow up on a few things. And like I said, something inspired me to do this video, so I wanted to go ahead and do it. So as you see by the title here, I'm not your coach, not ready to be a mentor. I can't share my story, I can't share my resources, and I can't share what I learned. So the reason that I wanted to do this video, this is got to be a little bit different from some of the other videos that I've done. Got two cameras going on here, so if you're watching me on Facebook, I'm only going to be here for a few minutes, and then the rest of this video is going to go to my YouTube. So if you want this feed, you're going to have to go to my YouTube and see the thing on YouTube for the whole entire video. But again, I do have a little notepad here that I scratched out and wanted to go over a few topics. So let me just share with you exactly what happened. So today we were on the Bright Line from Miami Central Station, which leaves downtown Miami and goes all the way to West Palm Beach. We were actually there with the Miami Downtown Development Authority, and I just got to really network with some cool people that are in the city, that are helping the city of Miami grow, and they're all about seeing Miami as a better place where, you know, people come in or businesses come in, and we just make this community a great community. So, you know, I'm connected with several key individuals. I was honored to hear their story, you know, how they came to this country, how they, you know, established their businesses, how they grew their businesses, and what they did. And then when we arrived, we toured the station, we saw what it was all about, we saw the beautiful creation. And again, it's just seeing that vision of what Miami can be, and how obviously public transportation with joining other communities can provide a great workplace where people can commute into the city from the suburbs or other places outside of the city, and just really start to use the transportation resources instead of having to always rely on their cars. So that was kind of the whole concept. And again, it's about bringing and promoting the Bright Line and other public transportation services, so people can get in that mindset that there are resources available. So when we arrived in Miami, back to Miami, we toured the Miami facilities, and then I continued speaking with several individuals. And there was an individual there that I really connected with. You know, her story was really inspiring to me because she's coming from the legal world, where she worked as an attorney for, I think she said, like 20 or 30 years. So her job was very, very structured. And she was in this position where she just wasn't feeling fulfilled, right? Like, she just felt like she became a robot, just doing things from one day to the next. You know, sure, she was helping resolve some cases or whatever was involved in her work activities, but to herself, she just wasn't feeling fulfilled. So she left this work in order to go and pursue something else. And then we were just talking about, you know, several things of, I got this scratch going on in my eye, several things about the challenges that she's going through. And I was just able to relate because, you know, I'm going through some of those similar things right now. And then, you know, some of the things that she was mentioning, I actually went through about a year ago. And it just helped us connect. And, you know, she was asking me questions and I was asking her questions, and just seeing what things we understood from each other and how we could connect and continue working with each other. So one of the wonderful things from that from that conversation is, we're actually going to be able to work together on a project that she has and on a project that I have. And I think we're both going to be able to bring something to the city of Miami that is just going to help the city, her individually and myself individually, as well as all the people around us. But I have this 4-topic list here. So the 4 topics that I'm going to be discussing here is: 1, finding what you want to do, making a list, which is number 2, scheduling, number 3, and then programming, number 4. And while I was talking to her, we probably spent, I don't know, probably a good 20-25 minutes talking about programming, and that to me is one of the most interesting parts, and I'll definitely dive into it in this video. But let's get into the first part, is finding out what you want to do. This I struggled with myself, and I think we're always programmed to have this thing where it's like, oh, when I grow up, if you're younger, you have these dreams. When I grow up, I'm going to be a lawyer, or I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a firefighter, whatever it is that it's going to be. I'm going to be an astronaut, whatever it is, right? And then for whatever reason, we lock ourselves into this one thing, like that one thing is the only thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and that's it. I'm going to die being a carpenter, and that's it. Like, there's no other choices. And that seems really interesting, because what I want you to think about is, what do you want for your life? Do you want to, whatever age you're in, and again, this has nothing to do with age, whatever age you're in. I know people that are 80 that are more active than 20-year-olds, and I know people that are, 35 that are single, walking around and are not fulfilled or whatever. And I know people that are doing great things and continue to look at other resources. So this has nothing to do with age. It has something to do with just the programming, right? Ask yourself this, and this is what I asked myself, and kind of the revelation that I had was, would you rather be 65 years old, have worked one career for 40 years, did the same task, I'm not going to say monotonous or this repetitive or whatever, just did the same task. Let's say you really enjoyed it, you really felt fulfilled at your job, you did that one thing for 40 years, and then you're retiring, you have some health issues, and you can no longer do the things that you dreamt of doing, like traveling, or wanted to go skydiving, or wanted to go, I don't know, parasailing or hunting, or just shooting for fun, target practice, whatever it is, right? Like, you never got to experience that. Or let's say you were in this position and you could have helped more people by doing different activities or doing different tasks or whatever. Like, do you want to just be in that one position where you tried that one thing and maybe you made tons of money on it, you helped tons of people, and that's great, that's good? Or would you rather be like, man, I'm 55 years old, I've done 150 things on my bucket list, I still have 50 more things to go, I'm fully excited about life, I want to continue doing things, like, I don't know when I'm going to end doing all this stuff, but I'm just so excited because I have all these things to look forward to, right? So I don't know about you, but I prefer the second one. Like, let me know what you think, if you like to just do one thing or you like to do multiple things, right? I prefer the second one. I would rather have 40 different careers or 40 different jobs or 40 different businesses where I'm involved in 40 different things. Maybe only 3 or 4 of them work out, right? But at least I can say, well, I tried the whole restaurant business, or I tried this business. This is what I learned from it. This is the challenges that I saw. Maybe because I saw those challenges, this is the solutions I came up with, which led to another business or another job or another thing. Something like that, right? Like, I don't know about you, but there's something about being stuck and doing the same exact thing every single day that's just boring to me, right? And I know it may be boring to some other individuals. So we were talking about this whole thing of finding out what you want to do. And going back to that, it's like, I still don't know what I want to do. Like, right now, we're in the commercial real estate space. We're in the real estate space as a whole. We're also helping individuals with a credit thing, helping them get financially educated, wills, trust, power of attorney, just understand that stuff. But 7-10 years from now, I want to be a real estate developer. So the two things connect for me, and it's like I can see how making those connections and working with those individuals and helping people and being focused in commercial real estate helps those things. But give me a second here. So it helps those things. I just want to check my camera. But at the same time, it's like, that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So sometimes finding out what you want to do, and we'll get back into this, into the scheduling, the programming part, but it's like, what do you want to do now? Like, I don't want to do this when I'm 60 years old, or maybe I do, I don't know, but what is it that I want to do now? And that now, maybe it lasts, I don't know, you plan it out 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is, or 10 years, right? But do you really think that you just need to stick to that one thing forever for the rest of your life, right? Like, even the great motivational speaker, Tony Robbins, right? He's a great motivator. He's fulfilled about doing all these conferences and all this stuff, but how many other businesses does he have outside of his speaking and motivational business? Like, he has multiple businesses that's there, and he is fulfilled by that one business of motivating people. But helping people, feeding people, all that stuff motivates him even more. So again, whatever it is for you, whatever you're doing, hopefully you're just happy with it. But this is an okay, if you're looking for an approval from somebody, you have it from me. This is okay. If you don't know what you want and you're trying to figure it out, that's okay, right? I still haven't figured out what I want to do, and I'm 33 years old, married with 2 dogs, and figuring out how to, go through the different challenges of life that all of us go through. So that's okay. You can do multiple things. That's the first thing I told her. Like, look, if you haven't figured it out by now that you did law for so long and now you're leaving that and you're doing something else, that's okay. That's fine, okay? The next one is, do you have a plan? And what I mean by a plan is, like, let's say, I don't know, let's say you wanted to be a skydiver, right? Would you go to a high school basketball coach to ask him, like, oh, I want to be a skydiver, how do I do it? Probably not, right? You would probably Google, like, what does it take to be a skydiver, try out different take courses, all this stuff, maybe find a team that's doing skydiving, do something of somebody that's involved in it. And that's maybe when you could formulate a plan. And we'll get a little bit more into that on the second part, which is making a list and also scheduling it. But again, it's creating that plan. It's thinking like, okay, if you want to do something, find somebody that's already doing it and go see what they're doing. And then you could take little bits of pieces. You could take different people that are doing different things and just try it out and stick to it. The third part is, do I have a coach, right? Do I need a coach? I have a lot of friends that are coaches, and I highly respect all of you, but I will tell you, in today's day and age, in 2019, the word coach, I think, is overused and overabused. Everyone out there and their brother and their cousin is some sort of coach, right? Like, I'm sorry, but if you can't inspire people to be the next level of what they want to be, if you can't connect them with the stories of other individuals, if you can't connect them with resources, and if you can't explain to them maybe some of the things that you've learned that might be similar or in some sort of fashion, parallel to what they're trying to do, don't call yourself a coach. Like, I see all these individuals like, oh, I'm a coach. Okay, well, I need help with marketing, right? And then they say, oh yeah, I can help you with that. Sign up for my coaching services. And it's like, they don't even know what the word marketing means. And that's okay. I respect the individuals, the coaches that are humble enough to say, look, I would like to coach you personally on some of this thing to get you to the next level. But I have this great guy that I know that's an expert in branding. He creates personal brands. He uses this stuff. So let me connect you to my friend Ray, who's going to take you from point A to point B. And this is why you should do it, because I understand that for you to get to the next level, you establishing your personal brand is important, right? But some of these coaches, they go out there and be like, no, this is what you need to do and whatever. And maybe they just read a book or they read an article and they don't really know that part of the stuff. And that's why I said, look, I'm not your coach, right? Maybe I can give you my resources on certain things, but I'm not going to coach you on something that I don't completely dominate yet myself. And again, it's not about me having done all of those things. It's about me having the experience to say, okay, well, I haven't done brain surgery, but guess what? I can connect you to a great neurosurgeon because I have those connections. And then you should go talk to him and find out what it is that they're doing or their studies and all this stuff and see how that can benefit you. Like, that would be a coach to me. Somebody that comes and says, like, I'm humble enough to understand that you need this to your next level. I'm going to continue helping you, but this is the resource that you need and you should go see him, and let's check back in 2 weeks to see how that went. You know, make a list of questions that you want to do. Let's, right? Like accountability, all that stuff. But like, come on, seriously, like all these people talking about coaching and coaching and coaching, and everyone needs a coach and mentor, and they don't even like use it themselves, right? They read like 2 books and they want to coach. No disrespect to plenty of my friends who are coaches. I feel very lucky and very blessed that I know those people. And if you're looking for some great coaches, I can refer you to some of them. I'm not a coach. Don't call me for coaching, please. I'm not ready to be a mentor, because to me, a mentor, when you look up mentor, like a mentee of mine is somebody that will be like sitting in this chair, and that person and myself are going to work together for a certain period of time. It might be 90 days, it might be a year, and that guy is literally going to help me and get so much from me that he, at the end of that period, 90 days to a year, he is going to be able to do the same exact thing that I do. Like, that's my definition of a mentee and a mentor relationship. Like, a mentor is somebody that literally shapes and guides, and a mentee is somebody that learns so much from the person that they're with that they're able to replicate their craft once they leave that individual, once they overgrow him. So I'm not ready to be a mentor. Why? Because I have other things that I'm focused on, and I'm going to be respectful to those individuals and not say, yes, I'll be your mentor, because I can't dedicate the time that that person needs from me to get them to whatever that they want, right? I would rather say, hey, I can share my story with you. This is what I'm going through. These are the resources that I'm going through. This is what I'm using for this. This is what I'm using for branding. This is what I'm using for marketing. This is the guy I'm talking to about social media. These are the things that I'm doing that. But like, I see so many people like mentors, coaches, and all stuff, and no disrespect to you guys out there. I love you guys, okay? But again, like, if you're looking for a coach, if you're looking for a mentor, find out what it is that you need and tell that person, this is what I need. I need accountability. I need someone that, you know, I don't need someone, maybe there are different people out there. There are people that are go-getters and are going to do like not 100%. They're going to do like 150% of whatever that list is that that coach or that mentor prepares them to do, right? So those individuals, maybe what they need is more connection to resources to say, okay, where that coach or that mentor can come out, look at it from a wide point of view and just say like, okay, well, you need help with branding. So the expert that I know in branding that's really going to help you is this guy. Let me point you to Ray. He's going to help you out and do that. Like, so figure out like what resources that individual helps you, and that's what you need. So anyways, that was my spiel on coaching and mentorship. Eventually, I would like to be a mentor. I don't know if I'll ever get into coaching. There is some goals that I've written down as far as creating some programs, some educational programs, mainly for the people that I work with directly that can benefit from. I know there's a lot of realtors out there that have case studies. I know there's a lot of other people in network marketing and other businesses that we're in that say, hey, these are the things that we use. We created this program to teach you guys, and it's whatever, $197, pay it one time, pay it monthly. However you want to do it, right? That's a whole different topic. So yes, maybe in the future I'll create some sort of programs to mention some of these experiences and then share what they are. and there'll be proven case studies, X, Y, and Z, and some of that we have, right? But again, I wrote down here, a coach should push you to be all that you can be, even if you can't see it in yourself yet. Like so many people, I had the pleasure of attending the 10X Growth Conference 2 in Las Vegas last year in 2018. And Tim Grover was there. And Tim Grover was the coach of Michael Jordan. And Tim Grover saw something in Michael Jordan that nobody else saw. And again, he pushed him to be what Michael Jordan became, right? So it's doing that. So the other thing that we discussed that I was talking with this lady earlier today was, does a coach need to have directly done what you want, or is it best for them to guide you? I know different people have different opinions on this, and I would agree. Like if you're looking for coaching to be a carpenter, for example, just because it's a physical trade, or an Ironman, somebody that does welding or some of that stuff, then yes, probably that coach, that mentor would be better off if they are hands-on showing you what you're doing. Some of, for example, the sports, basketball coaches, soccer coaches, football coaches, etc., some of them haven't necessarily done the sport as far as like playing it professionally or something like that. Can they still be great coaches? I believe that they can, because if they can inspire you to be that next level, if they can show you based on their experience, based on the resources that they have, that, hey, maybe you're kicking this wrong, maybe your batting is wrong here if you're playing baseball, hey, maybe your throwing is off if you're a quarterback for football, right? But that's what they're doing. They're guiding you, they're showing you, they're seeing, hey, this guy really has power, he can throw it well, or this girl, she's a powerful figure skater and she's doing some spins, but she's having some challenges on this, but I can really see her persistence, her work, her desire to be this. So it's pushing them to that next level. And one of the things that we were talking about, I think I heard it first from Tai Lopez, and other people have said it as well, is the whole 33% rule, I think they say, where you spend 33% of the time with people that are with your level, 33% of the time with people that are below your level that can learn something from you, and then 33% of the time with people that are above your level, so that way you learn something from them. And one of the things we were talking about is like, oh well, if we look up to Tony Robbins, I know he has, I think it's $1 million mastermind or $100,000 mastermind, something like that, where you go and spend private time with him and in this island or whatever it is. And it's like, yes, you can be there, you could do that, but I know some of you don't have those resources, and that's okay. You don't need to find maybe that top of the chain guru like Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio or somebody like that. Like, it's very hard to get even in the same room with those individuals. But maybe you find the person that's 5 levels down, that person is then 1 level higher than you are, but again, he's 5 levels down from that master guru, that master guy, and you learn from him because he's gotten direct information from that guy, because he works for them, because he's worked for them, because they're serving them, whatever the scenario is. You find that person, and then you learn from them, and then you get up to that level, and then maybe you surpass them, so you get closer to that. So I don't know if that helps you see how sometimes we think, oh, we can only learn from the top guys. Well, those top guys, if they're teaching their resources, or they learned it from somebody else and they shared it, guess what? There's probably other people that know that can share it with you that might not have their same elevated status, so it might be easier for you to reach them, to contact them, etc. So from Facebook, thank you very much for joining us back here. So let's get into the meat and bones of what this thing is, right? So making a list. And I'm going to erase some of that stuff that's on here, since you already saw all of this stuff, and let's just discuss about what I mean by making a list. So there's some great reading material that really, I think, has helped multiple individuals, myself. There's a couple of millionaires that have I know Tom Bilyeu is a great interviewer that he's interviewed a couple, and I can't recall his name, but I think he either has a clothesline or something like that, where he talks about listening to a book or reading a book. I think he said he listened to it like 175 times. And the book I'm referring to is The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. If you have not looked it up, again, I'll write it here, Power of Positive Thinking. Norman Vincent. I think it's Peale, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not, just look it up. Trust me, it'll come up. It was written, I believe, in the 50s or 60s. And again, it's all about your mindset. So it's all about some of your programming, which will be number 4 of our discussion here. So that's a great book. One of the things that, for example, I was faced with when my wife and I moved from Massachusetts to Miami was figuring out, like, what do I want to do with my life? And at that point, I was really down because nothing that I tried, nothing that I did was giving me results. So that was a true challenge in my life. And I found out that my brain kept on telling me, like, okay, your college experience, you know, even though you got a degree, you're not working in that field. So now you're this college failure. Even though you graduated, you're now this college failure because you have all these student loans and you have this piece of paper that if you were going to go to work in that field, you wouldn't be able to, you know, pay off some of the debts that you have because, you know, you wasted your time and other things and you made bad decisions. So my brain is telling me this, right? And then the other thing was I came from the construction business, which I gave up on. So I failed in that business because I was working and not getting any results. And I said, look, there's got to be more to life. So I quit that business, right? I was like, look, this is not what I want, okay? And it was just a financial mess, which I'm still resolving. There's issues still needing to be resolved. There's still financial things that I need to be paying off. And again, this is the progression. This is the story, right? So again, this is where I said in the beginning, I can share with you my story. I can share with you my resources. I can share with you what I've learned. So this is part of that. There are consequences to the mistakes and the decisions that we make. So that's part of the story. So my brain is telling me this. And then again, I'm trying certain things. At that time, you know, I got into road cycling, and the first bike I buy, it gets stolen. And it's like, you know, then I go into a situation where it's like, I got to sell my car, because it was two things. It made sense to sell my car because at that time we were living in an apartment and I was working in downtown, and my wife was also working from home. So she's not using the car a lot. I'm not using the car a lot. I think there was a time where my car was parked for 3 weeks where I didn't even move it because, again, downtown was so close by. I would take one car or whatever. So we didn't need both vehicles. And then the other thing was, financially, it doesn't make sense. It's costing me here to have that car. So anyways, I needed to get rid of that car. So I got rid of that. So then again, your brain is constantly telling you, like, look, you're a failure because you have a college degree that I'm not using. You went into this business, that business failed. You quit in this business. You're focusing now on real estate stuff. The people are not returning your phone calls. Like, all of this thing is going through my head, right? And again, it's just telling you and hitting you and hitting you and hitting you. And it's like, how much can you take? Well, one of the things that Dr. Norman Vincent Peale talks about is making a list, right? And this is what I did. He actually, I took it a little bit further. He talks about making a list of what you have, right? What I have. And then I added a line where I put what I feel, right? So this concept for me, it essentially came from connecting. Again, I was already doing some self-improvement, studying the whole Tony Robbins thing, the motivational stuff, just working on myself, really focusing on figuring out myself, right? And I still do that every day. I think it's important for you to train every day. So the list, for example, one of the things that I have, what I have, right? I have my wife that loves me, right? So my wife loves me, and what I feel like, I'm loving, grateful, just a bunch of things. Like when you have a person next to you, whether it's a partner, whether it's an individual, whether it's family, friends, somebody that is just supports you through the good and bad, like that's a whole other level of gratefulness, of how much you love that person, etc., right? Like I have that. Then what do I have? I have life experience. And this one I'll break up into two categories, right? So if you're just starting out and you say, oh, well, I don't have life experience. Yes, you do, right? Because you have been watching your parents, your family members. If you don't have that, you've been watching the people around you. So you're seeing that experience. You're experiencing it through your own eyes, through your own body. So when I have life experience, some of you have much more experience than I do. And it's like, okay, well, I have the experience of starting a business and that business being going financially good, but I wasn't fulfilled in it. So I have the experience of seeing what mistakes I made in that business, what mistakes I don't want to repeat, what good things I made in that business, how it can be improved, and how I can recreate that maybe in other fields. So again, what I feel is that life experience, I feel happy about it. Some of it I felt mad about. Some of them I had resentment, right? So you just write down your feelings. And again, just because this worked for me, maybe this doesn't work for you. Read the book, listen to the book. If you listen to it on like 2 times the play speed, I think you could listen to the book in like an hour and 30 minutes or something like that. And if you read it, I think it's less than like 100 pages, so it's very easy to read. So again, this is what he talks about. Write a list of what you have, because you have more than you can imagine. I think Gary Vaynerchuk says it all the time. There's 1 in 400 billion chance that you are born as a human. So for you to be here on this planet right now at this instant watching this, like, that's just amazing. If you have all of your body parts, if you have all of your senses, if you're not sick, if you at least feel healthy, if you're able to do things, like, that's a blessing. If you can read, if you can write, that's a blessing. If you have a phone, like, there's just, this list for me became so long where I was like, well, I'm down. The situation kind of sucks, but overall, I'm not doing that bad, because in comparison to other individuals, maybe I eat 2-3 times a day. I feel somewhat healthy. I have a loving wife. At least we have some sort of financial stability where we are getting some some money coming in through some of the things that we've done in the past, even though I'm not earning to my ability right now. So again, that was just an amazing experience overall to do that, and I think this can really help you. The other make a list of your attributes, what I wrote here. So make a list of, again, how you feel about those things. And then next is goals, right? Make a list of where you want to be. So I'll put it down here, goals. And again, when you start writing these things down on paper, what happens is it comes out of your head, it comes down on paper, and then you're able to somewhat of create a plan, right? And the plan that you're able to create is, let's say you want to be a digital marketer, right? A lot of this is very popular right now. A lot of people want to help businesses get on Facebook, help them do that, help them do Facebook ads, figure that out. But if you say, look, I want to be a digital marketer, right? So I have a laptop, I have access to Facebook, I have access to a cell phone. You don't necessarily need a camera. You could take pictures with your phone, etc., whatever it is. So if you want to be a digital marketer, then you ask yourself, what do I need? do I really understand this space? And one of the things that writing down these goals and asking myself, this is what I have, this is what I feel, this is what I need, I found out that one of my necessities was sales training, right? So there I got into sales training. I got to figure out, how do I handle objections? How do I correctly present a product? How do I, create follow-up systems? What things am I doing in order to pitch someone? Am I doing the right type of sale? Like, is that product aligning with my beliefs? And is it best for the customer to do that? Like, all of these things in sales, like, I had to learn, and I still am learning. I'm in the process of learning. So that was a blessing, because I figured out, okay, well, I have some goals. So you might have some short-term goals, lose 10 pounds over the next 3 months. You might have some more aggressive goals where you want to run a triathlon in 6 months from now or in the next year. So just plan out this stuff and ask yourself, like, what do you need? And then most importantly, ask yourself, like, who has what I want? If you need sales training, Grant Cardone is the person to go to for sales training. If you want fitness and stuff, find a fitness coach that you can follow. I don't know, Beachbody or one of those guys, whatever it is. Find a personal trainer, right? Because they have what you want. They have those solutions. So figure it out who has it, right? And then go and get it from them. And again, some of this stuff, there's a bunch of resources right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on social media. There's a bunch that you can get for free. And then some of the good stuff you have to pay for. Because as I keep on learning, if you don't pay, people don't pay attention. So there's, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there that talk about different stuff. I'm not a coach. I'm not a motivational guy. I'm not here to pop you up and say, hey, it's got to be all right. Just stick through it. Like, no, do something about it. Write down this list. Write down your goals. What's missing? Who needs to connect? Reach out to me. Say, hey, Max, I know that you're not a coach. I'm just really interested in photography. Maybe you could point me in the right direction. Boom, I'll connect you with Gary, that he's been doing photography and videography for, I don't know, he said like 10 years or 15 years or something like that, and what's he's doing. And maybe he can say, well, this is what I'm doing, and if you want to learn more, blah, 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 do this. Or maybe you're going through a bad position in your life and you are looking for some sort of coaching or mastermind to clear your brain. I'll connect you to Melissa. Hey, she has this great thing, talk about, detoxify your mind, because she believes this whole thing about our mind being toxic, and sometimes we are sabotaging ourselves, and she's going to help you clear up those things, and she's a great resource. Boom, right? So I'm not going to solve all of your problems. Now, if you come to me and say, hey, Max, I'm looking for this thing for my credit because I want to buy a home, I can help you with that. If you come to me and say, hey, Max, I'm looking to establish my business in downtown Miami and I want to grow. Can you guide me in some things? I can give you a whole bunch of resources and I can help you in that process. So whatever I have that I can provide to you, I will happily show you that. I will guide you in that direction. I will show you, I would help you. But if I don't have it, I'm not going to pretend, well, I'm this digital marketer and I think I'm the next Russell Brunson and I'm going to figure out how to do funnels. No, I'm learning that process, and I keep on saying, if you haven't read .com Secrets for Marketing, go and read it, because it's going to give you a good basis to start off with. So that's my spiel on making a list, and that's important. So next, let's go into another topic, which until I hired my real estate coach, or actually the company that I work for, they provided us with free mentorship from this guy, and I took advantage of that. And what's cool about him is, remember, like I was saying, the whole step up thing? If you look up Dan Sullivan, like, Dan Sullivan is a great coach. He's written multiple books, talks about productivity, efficiency, how to do business, how to program yourself right, how to really take advantage of your time, all of that stuff, right? But I think for you to hire Dan Sullivan, it's like $100,000 minimum or something like that. So I'm not going to Dan Sullivan because I don't have that money to spend on a coach right now. But I can go to this other guy, Orlando, that can teach me real estate stuff, which is what I'm interested in. And his coach is Dan Sullivan. So I'm going to get some resources that he got from Dan Sullivan from him, plus my company is providing me with that stuff. So what do I have to lose, right? So we went through that stuff. I did some coaching with him. I really figured it out. And some of the things that he talks about, or at least Dan Sullivan talks about, is scheduling, right? And one of the things that impacted me was, like, I read the Bible. I'm a believer, and one of the things that he said that has really stuck with me to this day is, you know, the day starts the night before. And if you're a believer, and if you're not, just bear with me for 30 seconds. In Genesis, it says that God created night and day, and essentially he separated the day from night and all stuff, but essentially one day is the night and the day. So just going back, I was like, oh wow, that's interesting, because I've never really observed it that way. So then he talked about, okay, well, you know, it's good for you to do your schedule the night before, because then you start to program your brain. Okay, I have a phone call at 7 a.m. I'm doing a showing at 8 o'clock. Then we have a business meeting at 10 o'clock. We're going to have a sales meeting at 1. Then I'm going to do emails between 1 and 2 and all this stuff. And then this is the time I exercise. This is the time that I have for my honey. And we talk about what went on through my day. I'm having business meeting with the clients. Whatever that thing is, right? That's the scheduling part. But what I found for me was, well, I can create this schedule, but it doesn't freaking work. So what can I do? So through studying other things, I came across, I think it was Dan Pena on YouTube. If you haven't looked him up, go ahead and look him up. He's not for everyone. Maybe you like him, maybe you don't like him. Whatever, take what's good, what works for you, and take whatever you don't want to take, whatever. But one of the things in his mentorship program, or maybe it was Dan Locke, who's actually a mentee of Dan Pena. So again, that's how the two connect. One of the things is record what you did for that day, right? So like I did this for, I think it was 40 to 45 days, where it's like today is Friday. So Friday night, I would have written down like Friday. Okay, what did I do? Woke up at 5:30, did meditation, did all this stuff. 6:30, took a shower, got ready for the day. I think it was like 7 o'clock, I took the dogs out. Then around 8:30, I headed to that event. So from 8:30 until 12:30, I was at this whole Brightline thing. Then I spent from 12:30 to 1:30 talking to a couple of individuals and networking. And sorry, I'm doing this super fast and it's probably super busy, but just write down what you did. And now it's, for example, right now it's 5 o'clock. So I think I got home around 2 p.m., did follow-up email until about 3 p.m. Then I had lunch at like 4 o'clock. Then I think I had like a coffee break, and then around 4:30 was when I started doing this stuff, and then at the end of the day and all that. So then when, let's say you do this for 45 days, this was planned. Like for me, this part was planned here. And from here down, I did have a plan, but I broke it because if you saw this video from the beginning, something told me, hey, I need to do this. So again, working for yourself and doing all that gives you this great flexibility and whatever, and you can do that. So I broke it, right? But then let's say whatever, 6 o'clock comes around, I finish these videos, upload them to YouTube at 7 p.m. Let's say I do decide to, whatever, doze off or whatever, or watch movies until 8:30 or watch a documentary or whatever. Then we usually go to church, and then I fall asleep by 10 o'clock. So when you do this for 45 days, like previous to this, some of my days would look like this. And again, maybe this works for you. Some of my days were like, okay, it's Friday. I woke up at 8:30. I was on my cell phone browsing until 10:30 in the morning. Then I took out the dogs. Then I took a shower. Then I went into the office at 2 o'clock. I did 3 or 4 phone calls. Then I left for 4 o'clock to have lunch with my wife. Then at 6 o'clock, I was reading a book. 7 p.m., I took my dogs to the park. 8 p.m., I went to the gym. And it's like I'm not making any money, I'm not having any progress. No shit, buddy. You work from 2 to 4 o'clock. Like, you had 2 hours of work, and during that time you made 3 phone calls and sent 2 follow-up emails. Like, what results do you want? So sometimes a lot of us, at least a few of the people that I've talked to, they've been in this position because they're like, man, I'm trying to be productive, I'm trying to do that, but I'm not seeing. When you do it like this and you do it consistently for 40 to 45 days, you're like, wow, I wasted an hour here, I wasted an hour there. Oh, one of the things that I shared was, for example, I get, I eat my heaviest meal during lunchtime. So sometimes it could be, like a solid protein with some carbohydrates, rice, meat, whatever. Sometimes I'll just have a salad with some chicken or some other type of protein, eggs or whatever. But after lunch, I just feel lethargic, whether my body is accustomed to it or whatever. So what did I find works for me? Instead of me being lethargic and procrastinating and doing all that stuff, I said, no, after lunch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in half an hour of self-study. So that might be watching some YouTube videos about some marketing thing that I am learning, or reading my Kindle where I'm catching up on my reading, where I'm learning about something. And then once that half an hour's passed, then I've trained, okay, well, I've taken my break, I've calmed down my body. Now let's go back into action mode where I'm following up emails, I'm doing phone calls, I'm going on showings, I'm talking to marketers about our marketing strategy, XYZ, whatever the case is, right? So that was something that I found about myself, and it's been productive for me because, hey, if I'm going to go have lunch with somebody, I'm probably not going to schedule an intense, mastermind session where we're talking about marketing right after lunch, because my body feels lethargic, and I figured that out about myself. I'm in the mode of reprogramming my body, reprogramming my mind, and that's the topic we'll get into next. But again, find out what works for you. And this is where I put, is it easier to make or follow a schedule? To make and follow a schedule, or record what you did, realize what you're doing, identify the time wasters, and adjust and make a plan. So once you identify this, what's going to happen is your mind says, oh man, I'm wasting time here. I'm wasting time here. I'm wasting time here. How can I fill this in? How can I fill this in? How can I fill this in? And what's going to happen is eventually you're going to say, okay, now I'm becoming more routine where I'm just recording, and then you'll be able to say, okay, let me review my schedule for tomorrow, because now I'm in the programming mode, because now my mind has said, okay, you're done with wasting time because we've identified the time wasters. Let's go and find out what to fill that time with. So that personally helped me. I don't know if it's going to help you. Let me know what you think. And then the question was, do you have a routine? Time for exercise, time for calls, time for text, time for email, time for study. Discuss I just discussed that example. So for example, one of the other things that is working for me that might be working for you is, for example, phone calls, right? So I usually try to block out a 2-hour phone call spree where all I do is phone calls. Whether it's follow-up, whether it's prospecting, whether it's something, during those 2 hours, all I do is calls, right? And when I looked at my follow-up strategy, one of the things was make a phone call, follow up with a text, follow up with an email, maybe a personal note. So this phone call part had 4 parts, right? The phone call, the voicemail, the email, the text, the personal note, right? So that's what I had on there. So that was nice. One of the things that I did was, okay, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to completely erase all this stuff, right? I know what my figures are. So I'm going to do just 2 hours of phone calls. And in 2 hours of phone calls, you know, anywhere from 150 to 200 plus contacts, right? Because all you're doing is picking up the phone and dialing, picking up the phone and dialing, picking up the phone and dialing. That's all you're doing. Then I would say, okay, 30 to 45 minutes would be text. So those people, the ones that I communicated with, I would have a sample text that I would copy and paste, and the ones that I didn't, I would have another text that I copy and paste. Then maybe 30 to 45 minutes of emails, right? Where it'll be the same thing. Hey, just shooting you this quick resource, whatever the sense may be, and then maybe 15 to 30 minutes of personal notes, right? So what this allows me to do, think about it. You have 2 hours. Let's say here you have 30 minutes plus 30 minutes. This is 3 hours. So, and this here, let's put another 30 minutes. So 3 hours and 30 minutes. So I contacted between 150 and 200 people, and I followed up with them with text, with emails, and with personal notes in 3 hours and 30 minutes. Before, I was dedicating 2 hours to do phone calls, but because I would do a call, then I would send a text, then I would send an email, then I would send a personal note, then I'd be on the computer doing emails, and then Facebook would pop up or something would pop up. One contact would take me 10, 15, 20 minutes. So in a 2-hour period, I was reaching maybe 10 people. So this is how, for me, again, maybe this is different for you, this is how I was able to say, no, if I'm just going to do calls, I'm going to be a robot, and I'm just going to call. Boom, calling. I know some people that do calls and right away they do text, and that works for them. That's fine. If that's working for you, great. I'm sharing what's working for me. So I can give you the examples. You practice whatever is working for you and not working for you. So that's it about scheduling. And for this part, I would like to take a seat if this is okay with you. Let me just adjust the camera. All right. So, the programming part. So far we've discussed 1, finding what you want to do. 2, making a list. We've discussed 3, scheduling. And we've discussed, now we're going to discuss programming. I'll get a little bit personal with you guys here. When I was growing up, I was born in Moscow, Russia. So my father, he went to school there, and then once he graduated, he left, came to the United States, remarried. I have a wonderful relationship with my stepmother, with my with my brother and with my sister and my father and my birth mother as well. So when I was growing up, from the age, my dad left, I think when I was around 1 or 2. Then I traveled with him a little bit. But then what I remember growing up, essentially until 10 years old, I grew up with my mother. So I picked up some habits of what I saw my mother doing. So that was my programming. At school, I had programming about what we were, whatever school was teaching me. Then I come to the United States at the age of 10 years old. And again, I'm exposed to a different environment, a different culture, coming from Moscow, Russia, coming to the United States, a different country, where my family is from the Dominican Republic, and I get exposed to plátanos, which is green plantains, and the music, the culture, the dancing, the food, the family lifestyle, all that thing. And then again, it's a different set of programming, because here in the United States, the schools teach a little bit different than other parts of the world. So I graduated in 2007 from architectural engineering. If you remember what happened with the whole, not only housing crisis, but the whole construction industry, in 2007, it wasn't that easy to find an architecture or an engineering job. Thankfully, I did find one. I commuted for almost 2 hours. It was like a 90-mile trip one way. So one of those old stories. When I was your age, I commuted for 100 miles one way, and snowstorms. Anyways, but yeah, I lived in Methuen, Massachusetts, and I used to commute to Portland, Maine. So that was a trip. But again, it's all about the programming part. So again, I was exposed to this thing where it's like we have to work hard, we have to do this. At that time, I think I was making like $38,000 a year with a college degree and getting experience as an engineer. Then I left. I went to work for the DOT. Oh, I have another video on here. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and check it out. It's called How Much Does Your Boss Make? So just check out that one. I dive into some more details on that and how to program yourself thinking about different numbers. And then I got into business and kind of saw the opportunities or the situation, the differences that are there. And then that's what has opened up this whole field that I am now in personal development and improving myself and all that. So programming. From a young age, we're programmed to believe, and as we go through schooling and different type of schooling are going to program you different ways, we're exposed to this belief of what's happening, right? What's going on. So that being said, programming is super important because a lot of the times our brains have been programmed to think something, but that's our written code. That's not really what we believe in. And there's two powerful books I'll tell you right now. One is Mind Hacking by Sir John Hargrave. If you haven't looked it up, it's a great book. At the end, there's actually a 21-day program that goes in and talks about mindfulness and reprogramming your mind. And then the second book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And that's something that I'm currently reading, listening to for the second time, and really taking in everything that I'm learning from that book. Ultimately, what I've learned is that your brain is trying to sabotage you. And what I mean by sabotage is trying to keep you safe. On a scientific level, a lot of the doctors have proved that the cell's function is to survive, right? So the human function is to survive. Like no human that I know wants to die. We all want to survive and live forever. And based on that survival, your brain is telling your mind, don't do that because it's dangerous, it's uncomfortable, I don't know what's going to happen, and you might die. Like in the base context, that's what's going on. And for example, a lot of the examples that we see is, what did your parents tell you? How come it's so difficult for us to interact and go to these networking things? Because since we were 3 or 4 years old, our parents say, don't talk to strangers, stay away from that weirdo over there, that person over there looks kind of like they're on something, so just be careful, right? So we're programmed with this fear of people, of something unknown. But until you interact with different individuals, obviously there are scenarios, be careful. There are scenarios where people are under the influence by some sort of drug, alcohol, whatever the case is, and they're not acting in their total senses. They can become different people because they're under the influence. But again, until we talk to somebody, just because somebody looks like they came out of a construction site doesn't mean that they're bad individuals. You can still talk to them. Hey, what's going on? How was your day? How are things going? It's weird, right? It's still weird to us because our mind is saying, that's kind of weird. I don't want to do that. How do I spice up a conversation, especially if you're an introverted person? Like I call myself introverted, but again, more and more I try to think that whole introversion thing is some programming that somebody said, well, if you don't like to talk to people and if you're kind of in your own bubble and you just want to do your own thing, you're considered an introvert. And if you're this cheerleader type of person that is always in the crowd and wants to be around people, all this stuff, then you're a group leader, you're an extrovert, right? Like, is that really it, or is that what we were told? I don't know. You tell me. So anyways, going back to mind hacking, if you think about it, the human species created the computer because they figured that on our brains, on our minds, they figure we could take something, we could build something, so this machine can calculate and do all these things and have all these powers and all this stuff. And now this whole machine world is having its own artificial intelligence, as they quoted. But the question is it really artificial intelligence, or is it just based on the algorithms, which is another term for a mathematical formula? Based on all these mathematical formulas that us humans have programmed into this machine, that machine is making assumptions based on all the data that's there. So the mind hacking book, what it's telling us is, as human beings, when we look at our computer, our brain, our computer up here, has all these programs in it, and it's making all of these assumptions based on what's been programmed in here, right? So because of that, you know, sometimes what we're doing is incorrect because we have all of these incorrect assumptions. Like one of the great examples is if you take a calculator and you do 10 times 10, which is 100, but then you hold down the number 7 and you just pressed it hold and you do 10 times 10, because the number 7 is in there, it'll give you the answer of 700. And obviously we'll say, well, that machine is broken, right? Because the programming is pressed, the number 7 is pressed, so it's given us the wrong answer based on the programming. But if we relieve that number 7 and then we do 10 times 10, we figure out, oh, well, the broken piece was that the number 7 was pressed down. So as soon as we fix that problem and reprogram the calculator, if that's a term you want to use for relieving number 7, then we're back to 10 times 10 is 100, right? So that is what the whole book is talking about. It's programming your mind to understand what things are from the past. You know, the things that you're thinking about the future, are they really your thoughts, or are they programs based on the past that you're like, well, if I do these 10 steps, then I'm going to get to this direction. And then your mind is telling you, well, you're never going to get there because you haven't done step number 1. So again, programming, that's a very powerful book that has helped me. And the next one, which is really weird, is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And that book really has me thinking about something unique. And that unique thing is like he says, the power of now. Like right now, as I'm recording this video, I'm looking at a camera. There's nobody on the other side of this camera, but yet I know that once it goes up on the YouTube channel and other resources, hundreds of thousands of people eventually over time will watch this video, and that is where my mind is going, right? It's like, I gotta say this to make these people connect with me, to do this, to do that. But when I think of the power of now, like, what is going on through my head right this instance? What is going on through your head right this instance as you're watching this, as I'm saying this? Like, what can I tell you right now? Even though there's nobody there, I'm in this moment right now. I separate myself from myself, where I'm almost looking myself from like this camera up here, and I see myself talking, and I say, well, hold on, this is not really me talking. This is my programming from my brain. What my real true self wants to say is that you are going to be successful if you continue searching this path, and I'm going to be on this journey with you, and together we can make something bigger for this whole entire planet. And then as I'm here, whatever I just said about this whole thing about making us great and do that, did that really come from me? Or again, was that powerful statement coming from my brain, from my programming? And now that that's in the past, can I still focus on the right now moment without thinking of what I just said and without thinking of what's going on in the future? So that's kind of weird. But again, I think what the biggest takeaway has been from this book is realizing that when I'm with an individual and I'm giving that person, that individual, my time, I'm giving them my time right now, like at that instance that we're together. after that instance is gone in our relationship with time, like that situation already passed. So it only exists in our memory, in our recorded conversations, all that stuff. But like right now, what is the thing that is happening on a individual level, on a molecular level? I don't know. It's just weird. So that book has really got me thinking about, again, what's going on in my brain and the programming coming up in my brain. And as I mentioned from the beginning of this video, where I was talking with the individual at the train that I met and we were networking, is about the programming. And what's weird about it is, again, I'm trying to bring to you this message about the four things that came up. I'm documenting exactly what the conversations happened, kind of the things that we discussed. I added a few more details about what I've been going through. But in this power of now, like, I'm still trying to understand, like, how does this come together with everything else? And my brain is trying to compose certain things and say, okay, well, it's going to work out in your favor, and I don't know, this weird stuff or whatever. But like, what are your thoughts? I know I'm just rambling on here, some weird things, and again, this is weird, right? So, you know, but what's really important for me is if you're watching this, is for you to take away something. You know, whether it was the whole finding what you want to do, thinking about a coach and mentorship, you know, whether it's making a list and how I showed you, you know, how I make a list and kind of the things that helped me, the book that helped me, whether it was the scheduling part and kind of thinking about how you can improve your schedule, or maybe your schedule is perfectly fine and maybe you could just assess yourself and think of where you're missing out or where are your time wasters, and really recapture that time so you're approaching, oh, here we go, this is going to tie in beautifully. So where you can recapture those time wasters, and where the power of now, that you realize that those are time wasters, where you can actually make more time because you realize that. And then finally, we talked about the fourth part, which was the programming. We talked about mind hacking. We're talking about the power of now and how that relates in everything. And I'm just really, I don't know, I guess the word I'm looking for is, I'm really pleased that I made this video for you, because something in me was telling me that I should share what had happened today. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're watching this. I don't know how the algorithm played out that you're watching this video. If you're watching it, I believe it's for a purpose. I believe somehow God, the universe, however you want to think about proclamations and all of that good stuff, you know, you landed on this because you're looking for something. And I keep on going back to the Matrix, you know, you're looking for that thing, you know, Neo, how far does the rabbit hole goes? My mind is like hurting right now. So I don't know, give me your thoughts. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold off for, let's say, like 15 to 30 days, because I want to share this video with as many people as I can, and I want to get your feedback. And the reason that I want to get feedback is I don't want to be like everybody else that is just sharing things. And a lot of the things that you hear, or at least a lot of the things that I hear, and tell me if you're having a different experience, is people are saying kind of the same exact things that they're learning, but at the end, for whatever reason, we're able to connect better with, I don't know, a Tony Robbins, a Grant Cardone, a Tai Lopez, another influencer, your father, maybe somebody at work who's not a social media influencer, but he just communicates in a way that you get massive, you know, feedback from it. A lady, I don't know, at a restaurant, a waitress that her job is there, but yet she has this special thing about her that every time you go to this restaurant, she's able to connect with you and you've become friends and you do that. So see, it's becoming this thing where it's not so much like what level or what that person does or anything. it's that human connection where it's like no matter what the individual does, it's how they can on a human scale connect with you, so you feel that you want to help them, you feel good around them, and at the same time you've gotten so much value from them that you want to give them value back. um, Man, I don't even know how to end this video, but I guess I'll end it with, you know, let me know what you think. If you don't like it, tell me. I'm here for open criticism. If you think I'm just talking a bunch of crap, and again, you think you have something better to say, share it with me. I'd like to hear your opinion. If you got something from it, let me know what it was. If you want some more information on something that I shared, let me know what that is. Just reach out to me. Again, I'm learning to serve and to help others, and it's really weird being on camera that's on this tripod that's connected to this microphone and talking to somebody that's not there, and then knowing that you are going to come back to me and say, hey Max, I need help with, I don't know, credit repair. I want to start this business that you're in. I want to invest in real estate. Tell me a little bit more about this branding thing you're talking about. You mentioned this book and now I've read it, and if you read one of the books and you heard it from me, connect with me and say, hey Max, I read what you talked about in The Power of Positive Thinking, and I think that list message was powerful, but what I got from it that really helped me was this. Again, I listened to that book probably once a month, if not once every 2 months or so. It's just a very powerful book, and again, I'm trying to reprogram my mind, because every day I have these voices that are telling me that I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to succeed, I'm doing something wrong, there's no purpose for me for doing that, I'm not seeing the results, so I should stop doing that. Am I doing the right thing? Is this a waste of time? So all these voices are keep on going off in my head, and I'm working my plan, but I don't know if my plan is working. I don't know if that makes sense. So I guess I can see that my plan is working because I can track. One of the things that we didn't get to talk about was tracking the results. If you think of corporate businesses, every 90 days or so, they measure on a quarterly scale what they did. And for some of us, 90 days is a long time away, but 90 days flies. And if you do, for example, when we talked about scheduling, if you just look at what you did for the last 30 days and you write it down daily, then you can assess and be like, well, this is where my time wasters are. This is where I can improve. So, hopefully this helped you. I want to continue doing more videos like this, and I think a good resource would be to start to share more time with people that I'm involved in, even if I'm able to get them for 5 minutes. Maybe it's a Facebook Live, maybe it's a Zoom call. Even if I'm able to get them for 5 minutes, that kind of share what is it that they've experienced. And again, somehow I feel that we're on this internet world where we are connected by these cables and these Wi-Fi signals and everything, but yet we're so disconnected where I don't know what's going on with you, you don't know what's going on with me. And by sharing these stories and putting them up on this cloud server that's going to be on there until YouTube or Facebook decides to delete them, or they run out of space, or I don't know what can happen, or until Jesus comes back and all this stuff. Until that happens, like, I don't know, 30 years might go by and I might watch this video and I might be like, wow, that was you 30 years ago, and look at where you are now. You've achieved so much, and this is where now I myself am talking positively to myself, and you should do this with yourself. You should be like, wow, look at where I'm at today. Look at the list that I made of the things that I have, the things that I need, and then maybe a year from now, if you're working the plan, take back that list and say, wow, this is where I was a year ago. These are the things that I worked on, and look at where I'm at now. So what I'm trying to say is that these videos are for you. I truly believe that if I can provide something to you, some sort of resource, it can help you. Doesn't matter if it's going to cost you money or not. What I want to do is I want to share my experience with you. And again, I'm not going to do this probably for another 15 to 30 days because I want to get some feedback. If you like the structure of it, I know coming on here for an hour or an hour and a half and talking about this is a lot of time, but I'm investing it for you. And I know that in some weird way, because of the power of the internet and the power of us connecting, somewhere down the line, whoever watches this video, you might be at the same exact stage where I was a year ago. You might be exactly the same stage where I am now. You might be advanced than me, but you might get something from what I'm trying to say. So please provide me with some feedback. Let me know what you like. Let me know what else I can share with you. I know some of my other videos, I'm a little bit more dressed up. This time I decided to come a little bit more casual. You know, when I'm around the house, this is how I dress. You know, I like to go to work in a suit. I like to wear a tie. I feel comfortable in a suit. I like how I feel. I like how, you know, how I deliver to my clients. But when I'm at home, you know, shorts and flip-flops, you know, that's got to be what it is. So I think a lot of us on social media are trying to portray some other type of character, and that's fine. Like if you're, I don't know, if you're a construction worker and you need to wear steel-toe boots and a hard hat, and you can do some social media and I don't know, from your job, then be safe because that's your uniform. My daytime uniform is one thing, but on a Friday night, on a Saturday afternoon, on a Sunday or whatever, when we're not working, when we're in, you know, doing life or being comfortable or studying, or when you're sleeping, nobody sleeps in a freaking suit. So stop pretending like we are, right? So I don't know, I've rambled on here for a while. Hopefully you got something from this. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in. And again, let me know how I help you. Until next time, this is Max.